Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. We had a 4-day weekend, Tone. How'd you spend it?
I'm Tony Kornheiser, napping, watching college football, napping while watching college football. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, I wish I'd gotten those naps in.
Naps
I'm
are
going to get one in
important.
today. Let's hope it's after the show.
Naps are very important. I also played some golf.
Yes, they are.
We won some shop
I know you
credit.
did.
Team Coco. Shot 57 net, won some shop credit. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Brian Kelly is angry, Alabama rolls right along, and the U.S. Open is suddenly missing some of its biggest names. But we begin today with two ACC powerhouses going belly up. Last night, Florida State lost at home to Boston College, which has been mediocre for years. And over the long weekend, Clemson got drilled by Georgia by 31 points. Wilbon, you like I watch college football all weekend. Which of these ACC favorites had the worst loss?
Tony, I think even though Clemson, you and I expected Clemson to have a little pop, and they had no pop, not really.
Yes.
I mean, Georgia can win a national championship. Boston College, I understand they can be better. They're building under Bill O'Brien. They'll be better. They are better. But Florida State's not any good, Tone. And I hear this gnashing of teeth and the wringing of hands on television and the post-game shows and all that. And they're talking about Florida State and what do they need to do to stay in the championship picture in the playoffs. Shut up. They're not any good. You don't need analytics. They can't run. They can't stop anybody from running. This is 2 games where they look dreadful now. So stop with the playoff picture. This is the worst part about having the expanded playoff picture. There's going to be dopes all over television, including us, who are talking about, can a team have 2 losses, 3 losses? We had to live with that garbage the whole month of September. Florida State is not any good. You can say that. You're allowed. And Boston College, which we don't know if it's any good or not, took it to them. So please stop.
Yeah. So I'm going to agree with you. I'm just going to go about it a little bit differently. I'm going to start with the fact that Clemson, you can't just score 3 points in a game. I mean, you just cannot do that. That is a beatdown of the worst order. In fact, it was Clemson's worst loss by point differential since 2013. It was only the 4th time in 200. It's the loss a little bit. Florida State's loss is worse. And let me be very clear about this, and I'll echo what you said. Florida State's season is over. It's over right now, okay? There are going to be teams with 2 losses, maybe even 3 losses, that get in an expanded tournament, but they're not going to come from the ACC. They're going to come from the Big Ten, or they're going to come from the SEC. And they're not going to come from a team that lost to Boston College. And let me give you this number. In the ACC, which isn't a good conference, they were 7-18 over the last 3 years. So here's Florida State's last 3 games after they were whining and pouting about not getting in at 13-0 last year. They lost in the Orange Bowl to Georgia 63-3. For those of you on the West Coast, let me say that again, 63-3. They went to Ireland. They lost to Georgia Tech. They were well favored in that game. And now they lost to Boston College. They ran for 21 yards in the whole game. So, and I love to quote you saying this to Florida State. Shut up. Really, shut up.
Yes, please shut up. They're not any good. You're not good. So just go away. Get better. Come back. Make some noise in a year or so when you're a real team. Meanwhile, Sunday's big game features Southern Cal beating Louisiana State. Trojans quarterback Miller Moss threw for 378 yards, and USC's defense was impressive for a change. In the 27-20 win after the game, LSU coach Brian Kelly, your boy Tone, said he was angry that his team had let the game slip away, calling it both crazy and ridiculous. Tone, you more focused on the Trojans coming out of this game or the Tigers?
So I'm honestly not more focused on Southern Cal. I'm interested in how they do in the Big Ten. You know, I am. I mean, it seems so weird that Southern Cal is in the Big Ten, and I'm interested in it.
Very weird.
But they have to prove to me and prove to you and prove to everyone that their defense is for real. Of course, last year was terrible. And my understanding is that they play at Michigan in a few weeks. So let's revisit Southern Cal after they play at Michigan. I am more interested in LSU for the primary reason that you mentioned Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly had a temper tantrum in which he pounded the table like Nikita Khrushchev, for people who remember Nikita Khrushchev taking his shoes off and pounding the table. So, like, seriously, what are you doing? That was theater. That was as staged as Brian Kelly's ridiculous Southern accent when he signed to be the coach at LSU. Brian Kelly's coach here, this is his third year. I believe he's 0-3 in openers. Maybe some of that, a little of that, maybe some of that is coaching. Maybe some.
It might be, Tone. And it's fair. I'm just, I have Brian Kelly fatigue, even though it really has sort of been diminished over the last couple of years. I like him. I don't want to start the season.
He's a really good coach.
You know what? He is a really good coach. I'm tired of him.
So.
And it's a personality thing because I don't have any legit reason to feel that way otherwise. But LSU, let me set them aside. They may get hot. They can run off some wins. And by the way, I think that's a legitimate test for USC.
LSU is that one team out there. They're not just one. But when they say a team with 2 losses, maybe even 3, could get into a 12-team tournament,
they're capable.
They
could. But I care more about Southern Cal, which is in my conference now, as strange as that is, bizarre as that is. And I don't want them. I'm still trying to get used to Maryland and Penn State being in the damn conference. And now there's Southern Cal and all these teams out west. I'm angry about that. But, Tony, if that defense last year had not been the absolute worst in America, Caleb Williams might have beaten out Jaden Daniels for another Heisman Trophy because they had nothing. They gave up 40-plus points routinely.
Yeah.
So to see them have a competent defense is something I want to see if Southern Cal can sustain.
Yeah, at the moment, I'm more intrigued by LSU's loss than Southern Cal's win at the moment. Let's stay with college football. Let's do the whole top of the show on college football and take a wider view. Notre Dame beat Texas A&M at A&M. Miami went to Florida, pounded the Gators. Alabama won big. The Big Ten, your conference, went 17-1. That included Northwestern, your school, beating a MAC team, Miami of Ohio. Colorado ushered in the long weekend, squeaking by North Dakota State. Wilbon, who made the biggest impression on you?
Tony, the big impressions were not teams because the season's too long, it's too early, and these are mostly mismatches. And so, a lot of those were the Big Ten in week 1. So, I was happy that we got a win, actually Northwestern, against a team that comes in from the MAC. And the MAC often really challenges Big Ten teams on opening weekend or second week. We were able to eke out a win. But that wasn't what's most impressive. What's most impressive to me, Tone, were individual play. Shedeur Sanders, 26 of 34 for 445 and 4 TDs. Cam Ward, the Miami quarterback who transferred in from Washington State, 26 for 35, almost identical numbers there, 385 and 3 touchdowns. And then Travis Hunter, who, Tony, might be the best cornerback and might be the best receiver in the country. He should be given the award named for my dear friend Roy Green, who played both positions and did it in the NFL at a Pro Bowl level. Travis Hunter, 7 catches, 132 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Are you kidding me? And look, he and Shedeur Sanders may be, as I said the other day, the 2 of the top 3 players in the country. Hell, they may be 2 of 2. So I right now am locked in on individual performances. It's too early for me to sit here and over-declare, which is what's happening on every network today, about teams in late August, which is passing for early September.
I take notes, right? You know that I use a legal pad, and I take notes. Pages and pages of notes. I'm going to use a phrase here on the show that I've never used before, industrial espionage. Are you kidding here? My first 2 paragraphs are Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. I said, went over with this with Kelleher this morning. Did you steal my stuff? I have nothing to say because I was going to Shedeur Sanders, who, by the way, Shedeur Sanders, when Colorado plays Nebraska, Nebraska's got a hotshot freshman quarterback, I believe, Dylan Raiola. So I want to see those 2 because I think Shedeur Sanders is NFL quality. Cam Ward appeared to be NFL quality as well. I'll get off this. I'll go to some teams. I think Notre Dame's got to feel good. That's a true road win. You go to A&M and you win. That is a true road win.
Yes.
And even though it was sort of a dull game, What intrigued me the most, honestly, was that stat I read earlier that the Big Ten was 17-1. It intrigued me for two reasons, Mike. One, they're the Big Ten, not the Big 18. And two, on reflection, when you look at the Big Ten and the SEC, you say, they should, because they are that much better than everybody else. They really are. Let's take a break. Coming up, after big names go out of the U.S. Open, who's still worth tuning in for?
By the way, Penn State had a good win at West Virginia. That's on the road. That's a good win. Should we be more impressed by Scottie Scheffler's wins or his dollar bills, y'all? And Carolina won. That was
industrial
a legit game Minnesota played against Carolina.
Industrial espionage. Did you send a drone to my house to look at my notes? That's ridiculous.
Pardon the interruption.
Time to find out what's popping with the populace in mail time. Let me get the first one.
Mail time!
Let's go to the glasses here. This is chicken scratch. Big names like Carlos Alcaraz, Novak Djokovic, and Coco Gauff are out of the U.S. Open. So who do you still feel invested in?
A lot of people, Tony. I mean, tomorrow night, I know I'm going to watch Sinner versus Medvedev. I mean, either one of those guys could have been favored. I'm sure they had good odds, each of them individually, to win the tournament when it started. So, yes, Alcaraz and Djokovic are bigger, but Sinner's the number one player in the world and the number one seed. He's playing Medvedev, who can beat him. And also, for me, the answer to your question is Francis Tiafoe. Big foe, as he is increasingly known. He's entertaining, he's athletic, he's charismatic, and he grew up mostly down the street from us. All right, he's a DMV, that's District Maryland, Virginia kid, and learned how to play right there where you and I know at the University of Maryland. All right, so Tiafoe is who I'm rooting for hard. I've sat and watched some matches with his dad at the tournament in Washington. Love the kid, rooting hard for him. I'm invested fully.
The great feeling in my life is joy for you that you know everybody's dad. Whoever we talk about on this show, you say, I sat with his dad. So it makes me happy. I don't have the same feeling for this particular U.S. Open. It hasn't reached me yet. I don't think it's going to. I don't think Sinner should be playing. I think he should have been bounced after 2 bad drug tests. I mean, I disagree with that whole thing. I understand why you like Tiafoe. Tiafoe is a crowd pleaser. But he has gotten this far before in a bunch of tournaments, and this is often where it ends. I don't think he's been to a final yet in a major. I want to get involved with the Americans. Emma Navarro won today. This is Pegula's big problem, that she gets to a certain spot and then she doesn't get to the semi. She doesn't go beyond that. I'm just leery about drinking the Kool-Aid on them because I've seen this movie a number of times. But I will tell you something that has stunned me in this Open, and for the better. What? I am amazed at it. That complete loon, Nick Kyrgios, is great on television. He's not good. He's great really, on really television.
Good. He's really, yes, he is.
That's a wow for me. All right, one more. What are you more impressed by, Scottie Scheffler's wins or his money?
His money is north of $40 million for 1 year, which means he doesn't have to go to the Saudi tour. I mean, 60. It's $60 million, right? He doesn't have to go to the Saudi tour.
62 and a half is what he's won this year.
He doesn't have to go to the Saudi tour. I'm impressed with the money. If you said that he had no wins and 62 mil, I'm going to go for the 62 mil. I know he's had a lot of wins. It's not the same as Tiger. Yeah. People want to make it out because he only had one major. I know he had the Olympics. I know he had the Players, but he had one major. When Tiger was great in the summer, Tiger had 2 majors, all right? And Tiger also set the bar so that the money would come flowing in from all the sponsors. The money is in Scheffler's pocket because of Eldrick Woods. I'm impressed with the money. You can have the titles.
Yeah, I knew you would pick the money because it is $62.5 million. But you're right. If he cared only about the money, he would have gone to the Saudi tour. John Rahm laughs at $62.5 million. It's like 1/5 of what they gave him. I am impressed with the wins, and I think you're wrong about Tiger. This is the greatest season since Tiger in 2007, when Tiger had 7 wins and 1 major. 1 major. He had the PGA. And Scottie Scheffler has 1 major, the most important major He has the Masters. I would say this, that people will talk about Schauffele. Schauffele had a great year and he won 2 majors. And a lot of players will say, well, if you win 2, you're the player of the year. I think if you added weight to the Players' Championship, to the Olympic gold medal and the PGA Tour Championship that was just concluded, I think that might add up, all 3 of them, to 1 major. I think that Scheffler has had a fantastic year. And I have to tell you, I didn't expect to see anybody do this. 7 wins. 7 wins is a lot of wins, so I would say it's the win.
I didn't compare him to Tiger's last year. I compared him to Tiger's best years, and it's not close to close. That's all I'm saying. So before people keep getting carried away.
I'm saying to you that this year was the same as Tiger's later great year, 2007. It's the same. Enough email.
Yeah, when he was
Let's take one last break. Still to come. The Niners finally bridged the gap with Trent Williams.
While the Bengals still have contract issues with Jamar Chase, you were always talking down the players, saying it's not the 5th major, and now you want to use it to bolster your argument?
Just give them a little bit of weight. I will say this. I watched a lot of the golf. It was dull. It's the wrong way to conclude.
I didn't watch any.
With a staggered story.
Pardon the Interruption is brought to you by Verbo Private Vacation Rentals. Relax. You booked a Verbo.
Happy time, people. Happy 48th birthday, Raheem Morris. The new head coach of the Atlanta Falcons must have been very impressive in the interview process because Bill Belichick reportedly interviewed for this same job, and Morris got it. Morris was most recently defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams, but Morris has history with the Falcons and their owner, Arthur Blank. Morris went 4-7 as the Falcons' interim coach after Dan Quinn was fired a few years back. Previously, Morris had gone 17-31 as head coach of Tampa Bay. The Falcons spent a lot of money for Kirk Cousins, then rather oddly drafted Michael Penix Jr. So Morris inherits a quarterback controversy, perhaps not of his making.
Well, Tony, he doesn't have to be a controversy. He's going to start Kirk Cousins, and if he's healthy and playing at the standard, at the level that Kirk Cousins usually plays, there's no controversy. I'm one of those people who thinks Atlanta's going to win the division. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying that Atlanta is going to make a big jump. Happy anniversary, Josh Rosen. On this day 7 years ago as quarterback of UCLA, Rosen led the Bruins to the biggest comeback in school history, making up 34 points in the second half and beating Texas A&M 45-44 in the Rose Bowl. Rosen was then the 10th overall pick in the quarterback-laden 2018 draft. He went to the Arizona Cardinals. Rosen was 3-10 as their starter. And then the Cardinals hit the reset button by drafting Kyler Murray with the first overall pick. Rosen then went 0-3 as starter for Miami in 2019. He has not started an NFL game since. He was on the field with the Falcons in 2021, and then on practice squads in Minnesota and Cleveland in 2022.
Personnel folks must really be down on him, Tony, because they're quarterbacks who have more chances and worse records than that and continue to get more chances. I guess it's over for Josh Rosen. I guess it is.
Yeah, I don't even know that he's in the league. I don't. I mean,
no, apparently not.
We also want to take this time to note the tragic deaths of Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew. The two were riding bicycles in southern New Jersey when they were struck and killed by a vehicle driven by a man who police say failed a field sobriety test and who has subsequently been charged in their deaths. Johnny Gaudreau was 31 and a star winger for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Matthew Gaudreau was 29 and had played hockey at Boston College like his brother. They were in New Jersey for the wedding of their sister. The Gaudreau family lost sons, brothers, husbands, and fathers. It is a total tragedy.
Depressing doesn't go far enough to describe, I guess, the feeling all of us have about this, Tony. It's unimaginable, and it shouldn't be imagined ever again.
So sad, so sad. We are running on a show. We will go to the big finish now. Trent Williams,
let's do it,
is ending his holdout with the 49ers. Your thoughts?
People are overstating what will happen. Will he be ready for the regular season? He won't be ready. He could get a soft tissue injury. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He'll be fine. Niners are smart to get him in there. Jamar Chase and the Bengals still don't have a deal, though. You concerned?
Yeah, and you have to be. He's a great wide receiver, and he and Joe Burrow, if I'm not mistaken, go back to LSU. They have actual chemistry. You need them
They
out
do.
on the field together, it seems to me.
Get him in.
The Oilers and Leon Draisaitl agreed on an 8-year contract extension worth $112 million. You like it?
A lot. I mean, Draisaitl's played 10 seasons, but he's only 28 years old. By the way, NBA guys, they make that in like a year and a half. And that's how that's how different those contracts and those financial situations are. Shohei now has 44 homers, 46 stolen bases. You smelling fitty-fitty?
I am, but more than that, what I'm smelling is that Shohei and Aaron Judge are having unbelievable years, all-time years, Cooperstown years.
Yep.
You don't see this very often. Not from one, not from two. It's amazing.
Both at the same
Last
time.
one, your White Sox, who you said stunk months ago, have lost 11 straight. You're smelling 12 tonight.
You'd be crazy to ever pick the White Sox to win a game. There's something like 4-37. I do tune in, Tony, just to see what calamitous way they're going to lose a game by today or tonight. And how many fans in Chicago when they play at home are there? Usually, I don't know, in the upper teens. They're the worst team I think I've seen in any sport professionally in my life.
We're out of time. We will try and do better the next time. Julia Goldberg, congratulations. And Jonathan Delia, good job.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts. And now, PTI Sports Center.
All right, Wilbon. What was your biggest takeaway from week one of college football?
Well, the first thing is there's no takeaways from week one. There just aren't. There's mostly mismatches. There was some marquee games, but it's too early. I mean, I could, just take a cheap shot at Florida State and say my biggest takeaway is they need to shut up and get off the stage and stay off it for a while. But I won't. I'm going to go to individual performances, Tony. My takeaway was I was able to watch some brilliant performances. My nominees, Shedeur Sanders, 26 for 34, 445 and 4 TDs. Cam Ward, 26-35, 385 and 3 TDs. Travis Hunter may be the best player in the country and better than the two guys I just mentioned because he's the best receiver maybe and the best corner. This Arizona receiver, nobody knows him but me because I'm watching him late at night out here in the desert. T-Mac, 10 catches, 304 yards and 4 TDs. I think he wears number 4. This guy's brilliant. And a Boise State player, I don't want to mispronounce his name, Ashton Genty, 6 touchdowns rushing, 267 yards. Don't tell me the running back position is worthless anymore. I ain't buying it. So those kids provided any takeaway I have from week one.
Yeah. So I'm not going to disagree with any of that, and I would have mentioned them as well. I think I also would have mentioned the Miami quarterback, Cam Ward, who had a great game.
I mentioned Cam
going up
Ward.
to Florida.
I thought I did.
Did you mention him? I probably zoned out when you were mentioning him. But here's what I would say. If I were writing a column and somebody asked me what is the biggest thing that happened, I would be inclined at first blush to say the way Clemson lost, even to the number 1 team in the country, to only score 3 points, to beat Clemson and to only score 3 points with the backdrop that your coach doesn't want to take transfers in. Does that indicate a sea change in Clemson? And is Clemson going down the drain? I mean, I think I would ask that. And the other thing I would talk about, and it won't be a cheap shot at Florida State, but Mike, Florida State and Florida are traditional powers. And they got beat. And they got beat in bad ways. And we are watching, sort of an upheaval in that state again. Maybe Miami back on the way up and Florida State on the way down. And those were trending things. I agree with you that the first week it's too soon to do that.
You can
but
get it back.
If I were writing that column, I would do that. I would write that. Yeah, I'd write that.
All right. That's it. We got plenty of weeks of college football left. We're done. Back to you.